they need to get a better narrative in the sense that it's tragic. In other words, you don't want to act like you're getting scalps. You got to say something along the following. We didn't create the problem. You people, you were the revolutionaries. You hired all these people. You were the one that spent $7 trillion. You were the one that opened the border. You were the one that let in 12 million people. You were the one that canceled Keystone and put 650,000 acres off. You were the cancer, and it was not sustainable with 37 trillion. So then we came in, and we are the ones. It's very easy to hire people and get patronage. It's very hard to say there's no money and have to lay them off. We don't like doing that.
In this recent interview on the Victor Davis Hanson Show with Victor Davis Hanson, we learn about the disruptive cultural and political impact surrounding Kamala Harris's legacy and Stacey Abrams' controversial rise, and later, we explore Donald Trump's radical strategies that challenge the established power structure. Victor dissects how the cancellation of a major network show and the narratives spun around it reflect deeper shifts in American politics and media. He also turns his attention to Trump's bold tactics, revealing the conspiracies behind elite money, secret deals, and international power plays. Before we begin this discussion, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this channel. Now let's hear more from Victor Davis Hanson.
Well, I never understood her popularity because in I think it was 2018, I'm doing this from memory, but she ran for governor. She lost by 50,000 votes. Immediately, she became an election denialist. She toured the country for a year, raising a lot of money for herself. I think she didn't declare bankruptcy, but she had all this credit card debt and financial problems. And then she wrote these pathetic, risque novels about sex and stuff that didn't go very well. But she became a hero of the left, and it was so incongruous because they were the year 2 years before, and during that time they were calling that Trump was illegitimately elected in 2016, Russian collusion, and here they had a person who, then after 2020, it became even worse because then they were saying Trump won't accept the election, but she had never accepted the election. And then when Joe Biden ridiculously pre-announced in panic over the George Floyd riots that he was going to pick essentially a black woman, he surveyed the landscape, and wow, there were people who said it's either going to be Kamala Harris or Stacey Abrams, somebody like Susan Rice, and she really helped Kamala Harris because Kamala Harris compared to Stacey Abrams was mainstream. So what they did was, and I remember that Kamala Harris, she went to Georgia and she said, we're doing something new. We're going to take this billions of dollars out of that $20 billion slush fund. I think that was $2 billion. And we're going to give it directly to these groups. But what she didn't tell us was two things, that Stacey Abrams would be the clearinghouse. And as Lee Zeldin said, that she had never had more than $100 in this defunct PAC or whatever it was. And it increased by 20 million times to 2 billion. So you were letting sort of an arsonist disperse fire prevention money. That's basically what it was. Somebody who was completely irresponsible with their own finances, would not accept elections, played the race card ad infinitum, and then you're turning over 2 billion. The second thing they did is they didn't trust that everybody could waste that money quickly because they did it as they were going out the door. So they put it in a Citibank account. In other words, as if it was already spent. So they took it out of the EPA because they didn't want it to sit there and then have to disperse it because they thought they couldn't blow through 2 billion in time before Trump came in. So then they just took it all out and put it in a city, and that's what Lee Zeldin is doing now. He's suing to get that money back if there is any left. So, when they all talk about Elon, why don't they just say stuff like that? Why doesn't the left just say, look at this wonderful program. We've got this sober and judicious Stacey Abrams, known for her physical sobriety, and she is overseeing $2 billion. And, the average person pays $20,000 in income tax. So she's representing the investment into the government each year of thousands of households. and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. So why doesn't she just say, I'm very proud of what we're doing. Don't cut it. She's a wonderful steward of your money. But they never do that. They just scream and yell, constitutional crisis, and they never actually address the cut. You know, because of this podcast, I get emails now, maybe 3 a day, and they're from people like the following. I am a Forest Service lifetime ranger, and I clean the trails and I'm going to lose my job. Or I have been a soil chemist for EPA, Victor, and you need to point out that we're all losing our job. And I have no way to adjudicate that, right? Where the program. But the other thing very quickly, Jack, is, and I'm not criticizing Elon, whom I praised to the skies, but
as we just heard Victor Davis Hanson discuss the cultural fallout from controversial media decisions tied to figures like Kamala Harris and Stacey Abrams, now let's hear him elaborate on Donald Trump's disruptive foreign policy moves and his renegade negotiation style that upend conventional wisdom. His insights expose the hidden agendas behind elite financial machinations and political power. Now let's listen to what Victor Davis Hanson has to say.
This whole thing with Europe, we'll get into it about Ukraine, but they're running almost a $230 million surplus, and Germany alone is 60 or 70, I should say billion, excuse me, 20 or $30 billion surplus. Germany alone is 70 or 80 billion. When you start looking in depth at the asymmetrical tariffs, depending on the particular commodity, electronics, pharmaceuticals, cars, food, it's about double ours. In other words, they charge us 5%. We charge them either 0 to 2%. And then we're defending them. And by the way, everybody, don't tell me that Victor, we only pay 16% of 17, maybe a 20% of NATO budget. We don't pay half. That's not quite true. They're all under our nuclear shield, number one. Number two, they wouldn't be able to import oil, believe me, from the Middle East. They would not be able to ship stuff to China if the U.S. Navy did not patrol. They wouldn't even get through the Red Sea if it wasn't for the U.S. Navy. They couldn't even go through the Suez Canal. So we underwrite all of that, and then they don't even follow the Western tradition of free expression, and they hate us. And we'll get into Donald Trump in a minute, but I don't think they know what they kind of remind me of the Democratic Party right now. They think they're doing something that when they get Jasmine Crockett on TV and she starts screaming and yelling and racial epithets and horrible stuff, and they think, or you get Schumer out there and he does that, or that shrill Elizabeth Warren or that Jamie Raskin, they think that's going to generate, popular support. Well, the same thing about the Europeans. When they start attacking Trump, the United States, and this, and then you say, fine, just don't. Well, everybody, you're all hearing about this huge controversy, and it started when Trump sent General Kellogg over, his special Ukrainian envoy, Marco Rubio, Waltz, his national security, and he said some things, and basically Trump, I want to be very careful and characterize it. He looked at this and he said, this thing has been going on, it'll be on the 22nd, and we're speaking today on the 23rd. Excuse me, tomorrow is the third anniversary on the 24th. And he said, he keeps saying millions and millions, but it's probably the aggregate Russian and Ukrainian dead, wounded, missing, captured, probably 1.5 million. This is the worst disaster since Stalingrad. 1/4, more than 1/4. 12 million people have left Ukraine, and there's no end in sight. So he looks at this and he says, Trump is saying, well, when this whole thing started, and it didn't start on my watch, the Europeans said they were going to pour all this stuff in, and they didn't do what they said they did. The United States under Biden gave enough money to save Ukraine, but not to win. And it's just a death thing. So I'm going to stop it. And Zelensky then said he wanted to be in on talks. And everybody said, you can't talk to Putin. And basically J.D. Vance, and I'm paraphrasing, and Trump said, we talked to Stalin, we talked to Mao, We've talked to everybody. How do you stop a war unless you talk to, even if it is a monster? So then Zelensky said, I want to be on this, and you're going to sell me out. And basically they said, listen, wait. You don't tell us what you're going to do. I know this is your country, but your country wouldn't exist if you count on your beloved European friends. They talk a great game, but they do not give you enough. It came from us. And then Trump said some things. He said, by the way, he's a dictator, and he started it. Well, that got everybody upset because he didn't start the war. And I say that with all deference to Donald Trump because Donald Trump knows he didn't. Because Donald Trump campaigned correctly by saying the following: that war would have never started if I were president, because Putin did not invade on my watch. He invaded in 2008 when he went into Ossetia and Georgia on George W. Bush's watch. He went into Crimea and Donbass on Barack Obama's watch. He tried to take Kiev and more borderlands on Biden, but not mine. So what did he mean by that? Well, I think what he meant was that there were periods that this thing could have been prevented, and Ukraine acted in a way that might have precipitated. I don't know if I agree with that or not, but here's what he was trying to say very quickly. In 2014, there had been an elected pro-Russian Yanukovych, and he was overthrown. He was unpopular, he was corrupt, but they all are. And then a pro-EU, pro-NATO, pro-European, pro-American person. And the controversy lies with, what did John McCain do when he flew over there? What did Victoria Nuland? What did did they encourage this coup? Because he abdicated. And at that point, you had a government in Ukraine that was pro-West. And Vladimir Putin warned that we lost the Eastern Europe, but we're not going to put a former Soviet republic as a NATO EU power right on our frontier. And they didn't believe him. And then he looked at the Obama administration and he said, wow, they are appeasing me. We want reset, Hillary, reset. And then the hot mic, tell Vladimir, Mr. Medvedev, tell Vladimir that if he'll just give me some space, i.e. don't invade until I get reelected in 2012, I'll be flexible on missile defense, i.e. I will destroy missile defense and disband it. And they both kept their bargain. And then he invaded after Obama was elected, and Obama did nothing. Okay. Trump is angry about that. So then, after they invaded on the 24th, and Trump, by the way, had said, you know what, I didn't mean that. I know that Russia invaded. He said that yesterday. But why did he call him a dictator? Well, everybody said, well, he hasn't held elections, but Churchill didn't for a decade, from 1935 to 45. And that's very disingenuous. 1945, they had an election after the European theater was over, but while the Japanese theater. And Churchill lost that election. But more importantly, in May, when he became Prime Minister of Britain, he brought in people he did not like.
Right. It's a national government. Right.
Yes. And he brought people in that he did like, and he brought people like Halifax, who was all over the place politically. And he brought loyalists like Anthony Eden in, he brought Bevan in, he brought all sorts of people. And the point I'm making is he had a wartime Israeli-type coalition government. And he censored the news that he thought was pro-German, but he did not hound his political opponents. Like Zelensky has suspended a lot of habeas corpus, he's suspended opposition parties, he suspended opposition media, he has canceled elections. And I don't think he's a dictator like Putin, but he is a soft dictator. Okay, so that's got everybody angry, and then the left said that Donald Trump is pro-Russian because he lied and said that Russia didn't invade. Well, the other thing that he was very angry about is in March, this time 3 years ago, Zelensky's a hero because after 10 days or 12 days, that column we watched every day was blown apart and Kiev was saved. and he had a little T-shirt on. He was an ex-comedian. He was going all over the world. He was a rock star. And they said, the war is over. They lost. This man said, and it wasn't over. And then things started to happen. He kept making demands on the United States, and we thought Europe was going to shoulder it. Europe was not meeting their 2%, even though they'd been hectored. There were still 9 or 10 countries in NATO that would not invest 2% of their GDP. And then things started to get very weird. The Ukrainian ambassador in 2016 had written an op-ed during the election attacking Trump, candidate Trump. We all remember Alexander Vindman, the U.S. dual citizen. He was U.S. and Ukrainian citizen that was offered the Ministry of Defense. He broke the rules and disclosed a classified private call between Zelensky and Trump, magnified it, got Mr. Ciaramella, the person who never heard the call, cooked it up with Adam Schiff and impeached Trump. If that wasn't enough, in September, right at the height of the campaign, Pennsylvania is a swing state. Joe Biden, who has now abdicated for Kamala Harris, tries to get her elected by flying in on a C-17, flatter Mr. Voldemort Zelensky. And where does he go? He goes to old Joe Biden's hangout in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And where does he go? He goes to a munitions plant. And with whom is he with? Josh Shapiro and the Democratic cadre. And what does he say? That these jobs are essential, i.e. be making shells. And the subtext is, if you vote for Trump, he'll cut off aid and you'll be out of a job.
To watch the full interview, check out the link in the description. Victor Davis Hanson shows us that the narratives around Kamala Harris and Stacey Abrams reveal deep cultural and political shifts, while Trump's unorthodox methods challenge the established order and hint at secretive deals controlling global finance. We would love to hear your thoughts on some questions. How do you think the fallout from controversial media cancellations reshapes political power? Can Trump's bold, unfiltered strategies force a realignment of international influence? Thank you for tuning into Only the Savvy. If you enjoyed this discussion, please subscribe, like, and share our video for more engaging content exploring the innovative world of decentralized technologies. Thanks for watching. Help support this channel and receive exclusive offers from one of our partners located in the description. We'll see you on the next one.